Okay, I don't care.
Oh, that's good timing. Thank you guys for being here. Everybody that's out there in virtual land, thank you for tuning in. Before we begin, it's worth pointing out the level of effort that this town, under the leadership of Ed Parvin, our intern town manager, has put out. So the 24/7, people were sleeping right in here, if they were sleeping at all. And I'd like to think that anybody who left or stayed, whatever you did, you would have noticed how efficient members of the town staff were protecting us, informing us, opening this island back up for business quickly. So,
And Jeremy, who had the mic.
oh yeah, Ed and Jeremy had the night. Where's Jeremy? Probably sleeping. He should. Thank you guys all, and a round of applause for the outstanding work. All right. I'm sure we'll have a chance to hot wash that sometime. We'll begin with the invocation. Is Pastor
Right there.
Blackwelder?
Thank you.
Yes,
Let's
sir.
pray. Holy God, light of the world, we thank you that the storm is gone and a new day shines all around us. So lead us to cast off all that belongs to the darkness and to clothe ourselves with light. Then we could sing to you a new song, rejoicing in the Creator who has shaped us and is at work among us even now. And knowing that you are at work in our world, we pray for our town of Carolina Beach, that it may be a place of welcome for the stranger, of support for our neighbor, and faithful stewardship of our natural world. We especially lift up to you those whom you have called into leadership. Guide them with your wisdom, which is above our own, and direct them in the way of life and light, that they may lead with boldness and vision. Amen.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. So unless there's council comment or issue, I'd like to make a motion to adopt the agenda. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And the consent agenda, Kim, you adjusted for that CUP which was pulled, and the new agenda will be posted on the website. It's already posted. Okay, just for transparency's sake. Any comments on the consent?
I just have one or two.
Yeah.
The transfers, Ed, all those transfers are going to the Marina Phase 3 contingency. What's the reason behind that?
That was the remaining funds from the current marina project that we were putting in contingency. Hopefully we'll get FEMA funding for the south and east side. That's not a guarantee. We're continuing to meet. I've talked to several of you about it, but we're continuing to meet with FEMA to discuss the damages to both the south and east side. And we're hoping that they'll come back and give us some funding, but that would be any overages to that project. That'll be our September 24th workshop. We'll talk about the details of that. We'll have our engineer here.
Appreciate it.
Okay. Anything else, guys? There is something on page 7, Deb. It looks like it's asking for a motion. Let me get to that. There's an amendment. It's listed as an amendment, but will the motion to approve the consent cover that? If you could pull it up and just talk to that just a little bit. I think it goes to what Jodan said. It's a zero sum, pulling funds into the contingency. So I'll assume that that's not a separate motion to approve, but that it falls under the consent itself.
I don't have the same items that you have, so I'm not sure which one you're looking at.
Okay, I just want to make sure I'm not stepping ahead. All right, with that, I make a motion to adopt the consent. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, special presentations. And Brenda will, Eric, why don't you go ahead first? That's right. It was a frago, sorry. Kim threw an audible on me again. Just kidding, Kim. All right, Eric, do you have any of the 10 here tonight that could step up and?
We do, yes.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
come on up.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you, Mayor and Town Council, for the opportunity to recognize the fine youth of Carolina Beach that participated in our Junior Camp Counselor Program. This program was basically the brainchild of Julie Guy. She was our acting summer camp director. And it did start under unfortunate circumstances. Those circumstances being Hurricane Florence last year. We wanted to put on a camp. We had limited resources. We didn't have a lot of staff on hand to accommodate that for 2 weeks. And Julie came to me and was like, we can pull this together with the help of our great youth in the community. So she pulled it all together, and we were able to host 2 weeks of Flow Riders Camp with like 30 plus kids, with Julie running it with the help of these awesome junior camp counselors. So that rolled into 2019, where we started opening up camp registration in April. And after the first week, we're like, holy cow, there's like 20 kids on the wait list. Well, Julie came back, and she jumped on board and advertised the junior camp counselor program. And we had 10 youth that had the opportunity to come in and interview to see if they were a good fit for the program, and all 10 were a perfect fit, and all 10 accepted and helped. And ultimately, working in Parks and Recreation for many years, the number one thing that makes a successful camp is enthusiasm, and having an enthusiastic staff. And if you've ever been around Julie, you'll know you have enthusiasm, and that is super contagious with all the kids and the participants. So I personally just want to really thank Julie for putting this program together and really harnessing the talent of our local youth. And I know that she has something to say as well. And thank you to you all for helping.
Thank you so much, Eric, and the staff, Parks and Rec staff, and the town for supporting this program. I've never had so much support running a program, so that says a lot. I'd like to honor tonight the Junior Camp Counselor Squad, as we call them, and I'd just like to address them in a letter that I wrote them because I think that kind of says it all. Dear Carolina Beach Summer Camp Junior Counselor Squad, a million thanks are extended your way for serving on the junior squad this summer. You have probably heard me say, you made camp 100% better. Your dedication and commitment to the program enhanced the experience for the campers, their parents, the camp staff, rec staff, and all of our community partners. It was an honor and pleasure to watch you grow as leaders. As you guided the younger campers, you led by example, served as team leads and mentors. The younger campers really looked up to you, and the staff really appreciated you. I hope you have pride in your leadership skills, new work experience, and the difference you've made in your community. We have an official certificate for you. I'd like to present to Malia, Holly, Gabe, and Davis. And we have 6 more that are so involved they have other obligations and can't be here. So we'll
Homework. Thank you guys again.
Get a picture.
Good job, guys.
Yeah. I'm gonna tell them.
Go get a picture with them.
Yeah.
Give them a box of cookies.
Yeah, I'm up here.
I don't run so fast in this suit.
It's a future junior camp counselor.
That's right.
Hey, before you guys go, because the 5 of us shouldn't be eating these. I
Oh,
left
no.
my checkbook.
Give
at
those
home.
away.
But, please, bring it back to whoever else.
Thank you, guys, and I think everyone can see what our future leaders of Carolina Beach look like, and it's great they're coming through the rec center with great leadership. So that's awesome. Take that whole container.
That's right, I'm not eating any.
All right.
That's good stuff.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, council members. I'm going to be I'm going to be briefing the September and October events. Okay. In September, we have the CB Market, and the last Saturday for September is the 25th. Super Beach Soccer Tournament on Saturday, the 14th and 15th from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I'm not sure there's enough beach left for them, but I'm sure they'll come out and see it. Friday, the 20th at 6 p.m. To 10 p.m. and Saturday, 21st from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. is the Dragon Boat Regatta. And the Mary Lou Hardesty Teal Hearts 5K, 10K is Sunday, the 22nd from 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. Here, one more time, is the beach soccer, the setup of the courts. Again, I don't know how much beach is out there and if they're going to be able to put all those up.
We didn't lose much, just by my assessment, but did Ocean Rescue, I know the Corps of Engineers was down there, and they basically said the same. Drone footage from before and after.
Looks awesome.
Yes, sir. I talked to them again today, and we were all very pleased with the way the beach looks after the storm. And so
The renourishment.
nourishment definitely worked. Freeman Park didn't really change a lot. It's basically still has the same choke points that we had before, but the municipal beach strand from Alabama all the way to the rocks looks fantastic.
Okay, good.
Good.
So this will probably happen.
Yeah.
All right.
sure.
It's all tide dependent. I know you mentioned that before. The timing is based on.
Correct, and how much beach we have and everything. So I'm sure they'll make it, move their courts around. October, we are really winding down for the summer now, so we're having fewer and fewer events. October is the Beach Bacon and Beer Festival at the lake from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and that's Saturday the 12th. Carolina Beach Latin Festival is Saturday the 19th from 11 a.m. to 9 p.m. And surf fishing is Friday the 18th through Sunday the 20th. Sunday is when they have their big lunch and trophies and that kind of thing, I think. And as always, I'm Brenda, and do you have any questions?
Council?
I do.
Oh,
I see you didn't bring up Tech Wave.
I know nothing about TechWave.
Well, this is the third annual event that they do at Freeman Park that has just brought to my attention about an hour ago.
Oh, we do not, again,
I
they don't go through me, sir, and so they do it, but it's not a town-recognized event, and we don't sanction any events on Freeman Park.
I understand that we do not do that, but at the same time, just so that our residents are aware of what's going on in our community. At events, at evenings like this, we should at least present it so that way people are aware that there will be a lot of people at the north end. Because with visitors that are potentially coming onto the island, or even residents that want to be out there, that could impact it a lot.
What is it, Joe Dan?
Tech Wave, I have no idea. Somebody
Tech
sent it to
Wave?
me. It's called Tech Wave. It's like some hippie drum circle thing.
They don't come through me, sir, so I can't announce an event that I know nothing about.
Yeah.
I mean, they have to come to me if they want
But
me to
according
announce.
to the text, it says there's 40 artists, it's free, there's donations, all sorts of music and randomness that are out there, so just so our residents are aware, this is possibly going to impact the day trippers.
They didn't specify they need anything from the town in terms of.
Well, yeah, it's nothing we deal with, I have no idea what's the deal is,
That's
but
So yeah, they wouldn't be any different than any other patron up on Freeman Park. They could use the beach as anyone else uses the beach and sets up for their day. But they, the way.
it's a 3-day event, that's why I'm bringing it up. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so just for the sake of the day visitors.
Right. So yeah, they would be out there, and it wouldn't be set up at, like Brenda was saying, as an
Not sanctioned.
event. So they could be out there and enjoy the beach like
If we have
everybody
to
else.
shut it down, it shuts them down too.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks, Brendan, that's all I have.
Thanks,
You're
Brenda.
welcome. And I would be glad if you know, sir, if you know anything
I don't.
that's going
Someone
on.
just texted to me like a
Oh,
half hour ago and
okay.
said, I'll bring it up.
All right.
I'll shoot you the message
If
later.
they want to
Okay.
come next, is it after the 8th of October?
This Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yeah, I was going to say, got it.
Yeah, if they have contact that they've sent you, they could get them in touch with Brenda.
No,
and
it's
we
not
could-
them. A resident sent it to me. He was like, do you know about this? I was like, I have no idea what that is.
Okay.
I just Googled it.
Interesting.
Very. Especially a 3-day event. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you? Are you part of that
You
day?
hippie drummer.
Thanks, sir.
Bring the note,
Kim will
David.
take it after the meeting, or if we recess for any reason, which I don't foresee. Ed, you're up next.
Okay. Okay. Wanted to give a quick recap on the hurricane that we just went through. So I've just got some bullet points on the screen, and it says how we went through the process from start to finish. And it was a good exercise of our emergency action plan. Fortunately, we didn't have a lot of damage, but we did learn a lot, and were able to improve our processes, procedures. Started Tuesday at 5 p.m. is when you met that earlier that day, but we declared a state of emergency starting 5 p.m. and then we also had a mandatory evacuation. So Wednesday morning, we were at 8 a.m. We started our emergency operations center here full-time, 24/7. Thursday is when we started seeing those high winds. And I know this is a question we will always get, but we will not close the bridge until the winds are at 45. They will never put a time on it. As we get right at it, we'll obviously have a time, but we'll always say 45 mile per hour. So that will be when the bridge closes. And that's probably the most question that you get as a council and we get as staff, that we get when the phone rings. People say, when's the bridge closing? So, and then Thursday, we wanted to make sure people stayed safe, so we did implement the curfew so they weren't out in the winds and at nighttime, and secured alcohol sales. By Friday at 7:30 a.m. the next morning, we had already finished all of our assessments of the town. All of our public safety, public works, utilities folks had already been out, assessed all the infrastructure in the town, determined where the dangers were, and had fixed those so that they were safed up for our residents to come back on. We met, determined that we had made sure the town is safe, and worked with Curie Beach to set a 9 a.m. time where folks could come back over the bridge, and we opened up for everyone. At that time, we started having patrons visit our beaches. Our beaches were open, and we had moved the majority of our lifeguard stands, but we left the ones on the boardwalk in place. We did sit those stands, we did take a little heat over leaving them there. And we had mostly roving lifeguards around the beach, but we sat those stands, and by having those stands there, the lifeguards were able to do 5 saves that day, do some rip currents. So that was a definite, that was a call that our public safety folks have to make on the spot is hey, how do we want to pull all these stands off, or we want to leave some in place? And they made that call, and it saved some lives. So that was a good win for us. By Saturday, we had pretty much everything back open in the town, all the town facilities. And Sunday, one of our last things we opened was the mooring field. By Monday, we reopened for regular business. So it went pretty quick. We were able to get back in sync and back working again. We do have an after-action meeting set with our leadership. It's going to be September 19th. We'll go through, we've asked all our staff to give us their comments, and we'll have those for our meeting on the 19th, and we'll go back through and talk about what went well and what ways we can improve our processes, procedures. As the mayor mentioned a few minutes ago, he was able to go out with the Army Corps, I believe on Saturday or Sunday, I can't remember.
Saturday morning.
Saturday morning.
Very next day.
And beaches are in great shape, so very positive there. They looked awesome. If you weren't out over the weekend, actually had some really low tides, and they would look phenomenal. We're also working with the Army Corps of Engineers on emergency power facility assessment. So what that is with the Army Corps and North Carolina Emergency Management, they come in and look at our facilities and determine what additional resources, generators that they can put, or facilities they can put in place to help us in a storm event. We gave them 52 locations to come in and look at and assess to enhance our resources. So that was our staff. A lot of it was Daryl and Buddy putting that list together so we could get those additional resources from state and federal. They also are visiting Wilmington, Curie Beach, Wrightsville Beach, and New Hanover County. And I think combined, we have the most we have 52 locations. All 4 of the others combined don't have 52. So Daryl and Buddy really did a great job putting that list together to make sure that we are covered for all of our facilities in town to make sure they're as safe as possible and have backups. So a lot of questions that we get after a storm is about yard debris. And we are in the green now. It's kind of, so what we've told folks is that we are going to be picking up this round from green all the way through here before we start over. If you put yard debris out, we're in the process of picking that up. So we will pick up more than, normally we only do 1 pickup load. So if you have additional yard debris that's from Hurricane Dorian, we will pick that up from now through the end of the, through October 4th. And then on October 7th, we will go back to normal pickup. So normal pickup for us is that you get a free pickup during your week every month. And we do ask that if you're putting debris out that you still meet our standards, and I put those back on the screen so you can see those 4-foot bundles, 6 inches in diameter. If you do have leaves or things like that, you put them in the paper bags and make sure your bags are 50 pounds or less. And make sure you're keeping the storm drain boxes or any utilities free from any of your debris. So that's, and I put down the phone number for the town if you have any questions there. So upcoming meetings, we
Hey, Ed, was that covered in the press release from over the weekend, those details?
We did put that, we're doing that, and that is above and beyond what the Wilmington, New Hanover County, they're not doing additional pickup. We are doing, we're not, like we were Florence, everyone hired outside contractors. We're still using our staff. We are doing some additional pickup, so we're going a little bit above and beyond what our neighbors are doing, but we want to make sure the streets are clean and the folks that have yard debris have it taken care of. So we are doing that a little bit extra.
Thank you.
That was in our last press release that we sent out after the storm.
How's Henniker's Ditch look?
Henniker's Ditch is, we did get that one section cleaned, and we have gone through and assessed it, and everything's flowing well. So most of our major stormwater arteries throughout town have been assessed after the storm, and everything is operating. So we got very lucky. September 12th is our next planning board meeting. They do have multiple conditional use permits. We just want for your visibility because they will be coming before you in October. Conditional use permits for, I know council knows, but for the public are quasi-judicial, and council cannot discuss those, or planning board cannot discuss those either with other other parties before the hearing. So the first one is a 36-unit condo building at 402 North Lake Park. The second one is a 2-unit plan unit development at 504 Keys Lane. We also have text amendment, which is a legislative hearing, which you can have discussions about prior to, and that's looking at amending our conservation district to clarify the allowances there, and a text amendment to allow a business plan unit development in neighborhood business area. So TRC is coming up, and we have lots more CUPs coming up. 406 Harper, there's a 2-unit detached plan unit development. 1012 South Lake Park Boulevard, there's a plan unit development for 2 detached businesses. And a CUP on 401 Marina Street, it's formerly Joyner Marina, for a yacht club expansion. And then a text amendment to consider installing additional stop signs in the Seagrove community. That's one that was requested at previous council meeting, is coming forward. And another meeting we have coming up, we did a press release, went out today, or it might be going out tomorrow, I'm not sure, about a Clarendon Avenue workshop on September 19th. So we're asking the community to come to the meeting. We'll have maps, some renderings. We would like to hear concerns, whether it's about stormwater, irrigation, landscaping, equipment staging, property ingress and egress, safety markings on the multi-use path. What does our project timeline look like? Any logistics that any of the community is concerned about with this project, we want to hear about it and make sure that we have it addressed. Stewart Engineering will be here and doing a opening presentation.
What time is that at, Ed?
That is going to be 5:30 to 7. So we'll put, those details are going to be in the press release. So we'll have that out. If it's not already out, we'll have it out. But it's 5:30 to 7.
Good.
It is out. Thank you. And also on September 19th, staff will be meeting again with FEMA, hopefully to get good news on the town marina. We're continuing to work that project. Most of our other projects we have closed out and received funding. So that's our biggest one, and one of the last ones remaining. And we also have our after action meeting. I mentioned that earlier, that we'll go through that on the 19th.
And just a question, are we having discussions about the Masonboro Sound area on this workshop, or is that coming in October?
For Masonboro Sound, we are looking at the upcoming workshop to talk about the town marina improvements. We will discuss some of the codes for the harbor area, but I don't think we'll have a final design for you, but we will have an outline.
Like some of the issues we had during the storm about Anchorage, and we will be discussing some of that. Are we ready to discuss that?
We know we have issues with Anchorage and use of public facilities, so we can outline those issues and give some options for moving forward, yes.
When you meet with FEMA, Ed, is there going to be a discussion on the next phase of the town marina improvement, east side, south side?
That's what we've been meeting with them about, and they've asked for an additional inspection, and they've had an additional inspection, which gave us some concern because we'd already completed our inspections. So we're bringing some of the leadership back in to go through why they're requiring more inspections, and hopefully honing in that process to get us back on track. Right now, I feel like we're a little off track with that project, and I don't that we've been told that some of the leadership's changed, so we're trying to get that back moving again. I've also have on the workshop, we have several employees that I want to get in front of you, new employees, and they have been unable because of personal commitments to get here at night. So I wanted to see if I could just get them in front of you. We still will have them video where we can get them in front of you so you can meet those new folks.
Good.
We've got, I'll just mention a couple that you probably have already seen. We've got Holly and Amanda that are up front now working in billing. A lot of you may have seen them up front. And then we have some new folks, new public works manager. His name is Dan, that just started this week. Mark Dudenhaver, who has traditionally managed our facilities, is now in a utility permitting role. So he's going to oversee all of our stormwater, public works, public utilities, inspections, and permitting for that department. So it's a good promotion for him. So hopefully we'll have those folks before you on the 24th. For Matsu, we do have well testing for next. That was delayed because of the storm, but we do have well testing. These are the wells that were set up that we have to have below state parameters before we can move forward with license agreements with Matsu. So that testing is scheduled for the 16th and 17th. They will go through and do a lab analysis, and we should have the report back from the consultant by the end of October. And at that time, we are also giving the schedule to the state and asking them that we would like to sit down with them and hopefully get us back in compliance so we can move forward with the lake dredge and other projects. We did go back and found have all our permits are still good and in place for the lake dredge. We have put together a packet of information on all the logistics of how we were anticipating the project work and how the first phase did work. We did move 30,000 cubic yards and are going through that with our engineer and hoping to be ready to go as soon as Matsu says go.
So that, the meeting with the state, you're looking for the no further action letter on the wells?
Yes, sir. Matsu wants no restrictions on that property, so we're looking for a letter that satisfies Matsu.
That would be a no further action letter.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So in other words, we're not waiting for the consultant's report back to get the analysis of the tests. Those could come before the 1st of November, correct? It says that lab analysis September 17th through the 11th of October. Those results could come back before the 1st of November, in which case we could share them, but though not formally with state letterhead that Matsu will need, but at least let them know that this is where we stand.
Exactly. So I talked to staff today. I want to be very transparent with the state and bring them along in this process. So we're sharing this timeline and letting them know, hey, here's where we are. Here's where we want to be when we meet with you. And hopefully we can get there.
This is just one thing that's on the 5-year lease that we seek with Matsu for our leased property. Is this one, if the lake dredge spoils, is this one discrete item holding up, or is it incumbent upon this being complete before they approve the terms of the lease? Because this isn't it. There's recreational-based and future infrastructure tied to this.
Yes, there are multiple things that that Matsu's looking for. The main one that's holding us up is ensuring that once we get back in compliance and all the contaminants that were tested years ago, it's been multiple years ago now, 5-6 years ago, that came up have gone away. I think benzene is still present at a low level was the last test. So once they are below all the state standards, which we're hoping for on this September 16th, 17th test, we'll have a no further action from the state, and we can then move forward with, at that point, Matsu will entertain additional license agreements for that piece of property. We have submitted plans to them on how we want to use spoils on the site for expansion of the headworks, the wastewater treatment plant, and enhancing the road beds out there on the site. So we do have a plan for the spoils that are out there now. Of course, we want to put more, but we do have other uses that we want to use that soil for as well. So, but before that will be considered, we need to get a clean slate for
But
the
Ed,
state.
when you talk about well testing, you're talking about specific wells on Sunny Point's property that we did for an environmental test, not our drinking wells.
That is
Thank you.
correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
People
Not
out here
drinking
are all
wells.
like, what do you mean we're testing our wells? No, these are environmental tests that had nothing to do with the soil that we put over there. This has to do with the old garage shop and the old dump yard and the old intrusions that were done on Sunny Point years ago. Has nothing to do with the dirt we put over there. Is that?
Absolutely right. They're all the test wells are around the garage
I
site.
just want to make sure, because
The-
people think that we put a bunch of dirt over there and we got trouble for that. That was a different reason. The well test has to do with the old garage, the old fuel depot that was over there, the
Right.
dump site that was there, the storage of material for 20 years. That was all removed 6 or 7 years ago. We removed all of that.
Right.
And we've been working on an environmental cleanup over there for that number of years. It has nothing to do with the lake. It
The-
doesn't have anything to do with the dredge material. This well testing, it is preventing.
Absolutely
a
nothing.
Clean bill of health is preventing us from moving forward with dredging the lake, but it has nothing to do with the material coming from the lake.
That's exactly right.
Just wanna
That's
make sure
exactly
people
right.
understood that, because it gets a little confusing when you read well testing. People are sending me messages, my phone's over here. What do you mean we're testing our wells?
That's correct. Everything Councilman Shuttleworth said is exactly right, so I won't repeat
Just
it. but
stop right
that's-
there then.
Leave it right?
Yeah,
Hey,
let's-
and
Easy.
just so
Let's stop while Steve's ahead.
compliance with Matsu
Thank you.
hinges on that one last, these tests that are specified to the lease property.
Yes, sir.
And that's it. So in other words, being compliant with the lease, terms of the lease, and moving forward are contingent upon the results of these tests.
Once we get the state to say, yes, you're good to go, Matsu's told us that they will then go back and start considering some of the things that we want to do out there.
Some of the additional things, though, they've
So-
signaled they're favorable to Lake
Right.
Ledge. Okay,
Right.
just so that that's in the public domain. Thank you.
Beat that horse.
One more time.
Just to acclimate you with what you're looking at, because this is probably a little confusing, this is the front entrance at Town Hall, the southern entrance. And what we're looking at doing is creating a space that's a little more customer-oriented and meets American Disability Act standards. Right now, our service windows do not meet that. So we're trying to make them compliant and make the space a little better. So this would be coming in from where Nyla sits, the hallway here, and then we would have our billing clerks here, and billing supervisor would be up there managing those folks. So it's just moving a couple of walls up there to create a better space where you've got more visibility for our customer service folks and better backup system for them. Same thing over here, you'll have your permitting window over here for planning would be in that same area. So we're looking to move those things around in the coming weeks.
Is this something we budgeted?
That was under this year's budget.
Thank you.
That one right there.
Yeah, I did see that.
Did you see that in the budget? That must have been the manager's discretionary budget. I don't recall seeing anything like
Had a-
that. It was about remodeling town hall. to
Had
make
an
it
asterisk by it.
I'm all for it, but
It
good
was-
job, Ed. You learned quick.
Drop the
Right
intern.
in that budget.
So I think this is my last slide, but you have the ocean rescue timeline. We did put our request for qualifications out last week, and that was one of the things that I was pushing the staff to do, even though we were in hurricane mode. Kim was working hard to get this agenda together, and the rest of the staff was working in conjunction. We were juggling both jobs, I'll just say that. So we did get that out. We are looking at, I wanted to put that September 23rd date up there. demolition, so we are looking at demolishing the Hamlet bathrooms on or soon thereafter, September 23rd. So that's important. If when we go through that, I'm sure you're going to get lots of calls at that point. If we need to put some porta potties up there in the interim, if we have events or something going on, we can do that. October 8th, we would look at town council coming back and awarding the contract. And November 4th, pre-construction meeting, November 11th, begin the work and be done by April 30th. So it's a tight timeline, but when you have a tight timeline, that's the perfect time to have a design build, which keeps everything internal and prevents us from having the middleman between the contractor and the architect. So they're all one person, and we can push that timeline a little bit further.
Ed, thanks. And to that point, one of the purposes for purchasing 3 Carolina Beach Avenue South was temporary storage of ocean rescue equipment. One of the many reasons which to go out in the public domain are found on page 21 in the minutes, at least 21 in my agenda. So glad you brought that up in your update.
And that's, yes, ma'am.
Just a comment that I read an article about the amount of money that it would cost us to build the new bathrooms in the ocean rescue facility. They negated to say that that is qualifies for room occupancy tax funds, which are paid directly from your tourism. So that's not town funds. We would have to pay for it up front, but then be reimbursed from our ROT funding, whether it be all or some or a part of it.
Sure. Yes, ma'am.
Anything else, guys?
Steve's not going to chime in?
Managers update, any saved rounds for Ed? Okay, we're going to move into public comment. I have 3 folks who have signed up in advance, to include Lynn Barbie, Tom, and Steve. I'm going to keep this with Tom Bridges, Councilmember Bridges, Mayor Pro Tem Bridges, help 3 minutes or less. It's nothing personal when we give you the 3 minutes call for knockoff. I'll even give you one of these if you want for 30 seconds. But presumably you thought about what you need to say, so you've provided it in a pithy fashion. We'll begin with Lynn Barbie on the storm response.
Lynn Barbie, 933 Sea Ridge, Mayor, Council, thanks for giving me the opportunity to speak. Joe, you did a great, Mayor Benson, I should be a little more formal, did a great job of thanking the town staff for us during this hurricane response. I've been here quite a while, and I can't remember it ever going any better. I would just like to extend what you said just slightly. For every one of those who were sleeping on the floor and doing their job, we have the luxury of hindsight, right? It wasn't so bad, but their families, when they were here, did not have that luxury. So I'd like to extend our gratitude, and I would hope that you would take that to your families, because they're at home worrying. We understand, and we thank you. That's all I have.
Thanks, Lynn.
Thanks.
Good comments. Tom Savarese. Hey, Tom.
Mayor, Council, I've been here before on an issue regarding trees on St. Joseph Street. They were pruned by your contractor, and as he pruned them, he took notice of the other side of the trees facing the house. Now that the limbs that were over St. Joseph Street, so boats and moving trucks can get through, everything is growing to the west, and the limbs are hanging over my house. You're part of the problem. You also could be part of the solution. I'm going to stop here. I expect somebody to show up at my home, make a call, and you can bring all the people you want. And I also would like the name of your arborist that you use when you have issues such as this. This is a danger to my home. I have photographs of limbs that have fallen into the courtyard, were on my barbecue, and they're gonna go through the roof and take out an air conditioning system along with it. This is serious business, and it's safety. Number one, keep people safe.
We follow up with Ed before you leave.
Excuse me?
We follow up with Ed, get him your information before you leave.
Do you have that address?
101
I-
Hyde.
I've got it.
101 Lighthouse Drive, Carolina Beach.
Got you.
Thank you for letting us know.
I've been to Tom's house.
Yeah.
Mr. Niemeyer, Steve? It will, yeah, I'll open up for the public hearing after we get the presentation on the text amendment. Anyone else for public comment? And nothing heard or seen. So we'll move on to the, as he says slowly, public hearings. Jeremy, you give the first presentation? Okay.
Mayor, Council, good evening. This is a text amendment to Article 9 in the zoning ordinance for mixed-use commercial residential regulations, particular to the commercial square footage requirement regulation. Specifically, we're addressing that requirement when you're located in the V zone. In a commercial mixed-use building, this is just an example of what we've recently permitted and final of the commercial space is in our central business district. This is the type of development we're referring to. The text amendment doesn't have anything to do with this specific project, but just as an example. So the current ordinance, in 15 years ago, we adopted in the ordinance that you could have condos, multifamily in a central business district. This is the boardwalk area, our downtown area. So when we did that, there was one stipulation that you had to have commercial space on that bottom floor, the first habitable space. 4 years ago, we clarified that language to depict, okay, the commercial space has to have at least 50% of the footprint of the building has to be devoted to that commercial space, whether it's restaurant, retail, office. But just so you're not putting in a storefront or lockers or something, or you actually have a storefront in that building, so we're not losing the character of our of our central business district. This amendment addresses when you're in a V zone property, and this is oceanfront properties now with the new flood maps. And the issue is when you're in an A zone, which is the majority of the central business district is now in. There's two flood zones, an A and a V. Essentially, the A, you're having rising water. FEMA allows you to flood-proof that bottom floor where you could have commercial space. In the V zone, you don't have that luxury because you have this high velocity and you would have wave action going onto the building, so they do not want to put less people in harm's way, so you cannot have flood-proofing. You cannot have commercial space on that bottom floor. You have to elevate it. So when you're in that V zone, the proposed text amendment is to reduce the 50% requirement for the footprint of the commercial space to 25%. Just as an example, if you have, in the drawing here, you have commercial space on the ground floor, instead of 50%, now it's 25%. The rest of the building can be devoted to elements of the building to serve the upper floor, such as maybe parking for the residential, it's a lobby area, maybe storage, area for your trash cans, mailboxes, anything such as that, that you may need to support the upper floors. So you still have that storefront in the central business district, but it is reduced because of the V zone requirements. And it affects total, if you include the T1 zoning district, which is kind of the outer limits and the transition before you get into residential, that allows for commercial as well. And our central business district has 25 total properties that V zone touches and kind of meanders through. 10 of them are only in the central business district. It's on, and those properties are on both sides of the hotels, the Hampton Inn and the Marriott. So the actual central boardwalk area, this doesn't even affect.
What's the red squiggly line?
That is the V zone where that line comes through those properties. So the ones highlighted is where that V zone actually would impact those properties, where you would have to either push the envelope of the building or come up with a design to address the FEMA flood zone requirements when you're wanting that commercial space on the ground floor. The applicant is here to speak. You have the approval statement if council wishes to amend the ordinance. And I'll answer any questions that you have.
Council?
I'll save them for later.
Okay, same here, guys. All right, with that, I make a motion to open the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, Jeremy, the applicant.
Thank you, council. My name is Steve Niemeyer. I am general partner in Stokely Development. Jeff Stokely's been my partner for about 32 years. And we're asking for this amendment because there's a property that we would like to develop directly across from Stoked Restaurant on the water, directly behind some of the public parking there. As we did our studies, we hired J.C. Woodall to do a study for us on this, and as we undertook it, we saw that it was going to be impossible, if not very difficult, but certainly economically unadvisable to continue with the project if we couldn't get some relief or modification of this on that 25, simply because in the VE zone, if you're at 50% there, you're almost forced to put your then commercial / retail use on your second floor, which everybody here knows that's not a really good idea. You know, and this is not Myrtle Beach with the gay dolphin. So I don't think that's going to really work here. So we came and talked to staff, talked about it, went to the planning commission. They gave us a 5-0 vote, unanimous vote on that. And we're just here to seek that text amendment. We think it's in the good of the community and for the good of everybody else here to allow that modification there so that we can get the projects like this built. Open for questions.
I'll wait for you guys.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Any members of the public would like to approach? None seen, none heard. With that, I make a motion to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Council?
I didn't really have any questions. I understood it. I mean, the VE and the AE zone are difficult to work with, so, I mean, we're still requiring the commercial use on the ground floor. They can't do anything in the VE, so it allows them some relief in the AE zone, so I'm all.
So the relaxed FEMA flood maps, relaxed by that I mean a reduction in the V zones. This would align, in your view or staff's view, with those adopted maps adopted back in August of last year, Jeremy?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, that's the only question I have, Council.
Yeah, I understood it. I don't have any problems with it.
Okay. Do you have a, can you put up a approval statement then, unless there's anything else?
No, but I'd make a motion to
Yeah.
recommend approval amending Article 9, the development standards, in alignment with the staff's recommendation.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay. The next item on the agenda is public hearing to consider a conditional use permit application. All individuals intending to testify must come forward and be sworn in by the town clerk, which can be done now. Clerk to administer the oath. At this time, I open the evidentiary hearing and would like the town attorney to give a brief overview of a quasi-judicial hearing.
Mayor, Council, as you're aware, tonight we have a quasi-judicial hearing. That's an evidentiary hearing. Evidence must be presented to you. You are acting as a judge would in determining whether the evidence that is presented is substantial, competent, and material, and whether or not the evidence presented meets the specific and general conditions under the town's ordinance. Because the applicant is entitled to a unbiased forum. At this time, I would like to ask if any council member has any bias regarding this application.
Council?
Does any member of council have any ex parte communications to disclose?
None heard.
Thank you very much.
Okay, with that, Jeremy to give the presentation.
Yes, sir. This is a conditional use permit. The applicant is Mr. David Cole. The ownership is a JLM Partnership LLC. Mr. Cole is the manager member of the LLC. It was classified as a bar in 2014 it was initiated by the applicant because it was originally permitted as a restaurant, but there are some, in short, for ABC regulations, ratio requirements versus food to alcohol sales that you must meet if you're classified as a restaurant versus a bar. So just to be in good standing with the town, and the applicant took it upon himself just to go ahead and just say, I just want to be classified as a bar, just in case I may not meet those requirements. So he did that, and that was the conditional use permit, and this would be a modification to that permit. The property is at 455 Boardwalk, Hurricane Alleys. It's in the Central Business District, and it is in a 8E flood zone, so that fee zone line doesn't affect this property. So when the property was redeveloped or renovated in 2012, they at that time built a deck, second story deck to serve Patreon zone. Here's a rear view of the property currently. It's vacant in the rear. It was reclassified, as I mentioned, in 2014 from a restaurant to a bar. The building is 1,700 square feet. It does serve alcohol and food. The existing second-story deck and patio service area has. The proposal is for a rooftop bar, so it's sitting over the existing building is where it's going to be. The hours of operation are going to remain the same, which are 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. Here's the floor plan. Here's the inside. Existing will remain the same, except for they are going to put an exterior staircase leading up to the rooftop seating area and bar. This is, like I said, will be over the existing building, so there's no expansion of the footprint of the building. Here is the existing second-story deck, and this will, they'll have two ingress and egresses, one into the restaurant and one outside currently. So they have added seating area, and then they'll have a bar on the west side of the building or outside area. This is a current sidewalk going through the public. In 2012, when we had an application for this two-story seating area deck, it was over the sidewalk. Town asked for a survey. The survey came back, and the property was, here's the survey on the left. As you can see, these pinpoints and where the sidewalk is actually was the owner's property. At that time, because the town historically maintained and operated and the sidewalk historically, so we asked council at that time if we want to take any further action on there, or if we wanted to permit the deck, just because of the town has maintained and put in the sidewalk. At that time, council said, no, we're okay with developing this property, but we would like to obtain a 5-foot easement on the sidewalk, because this is a major corridor and people going to the south, especially entering the boardwalk right there as well. It was a different property owner at the time in 2012. Staff was unable to execute that agreement with the prior property owner. So we do not have an existing easement in place. One of recommendation staff has is to, as a condition of the permit, is to obtain that 5-foot easement prior to any building permits being issued. And this is essentially what the 5-foot easement would be. It wouldn't take all of his property, but it does come at an angle. And as you kind of see, it's about a foot off the sidewalk here. And it's approximately about 4 feet once you move south because it is at an angle. But our interest would be for a public access easement for the public to make sure they can maneuver within that sidewalk. The application and plan submitted meets the specific standards as presented. For parking, CBD parking is waived for commercial businesses. The refuse will be in the boardwalk area business owners. There's no upgrades in utilities or landscaping, no proposed signs, and there are no setback requirements in the central business district. It meets the 4 general conditions as laid out in our land use plan. It promotes commercial businesses as restaurants and entertainment areas. Before you is the motion, and again, staff does recommend approval, that it meets the 7 specific standards and 4 general conditions, and it's in character of the land use plan and general conformity. But we do recommend, what was agreed upon with council in 2012 is to, as a condition of this permit, is to dedicate a 5-foot access easement to the town.
Question, Jeremy. I'm assuming there's a reason for this, but is there not a way for us just to move the sidewalk east out of that space, out of his property?
There could be. We do have some camera requirements that you can't have.
That's why
paving.
Just moving it over is not that big of a deal. I wouldn't think, unless CAMA will not allow you to do it.
Yeah, so that CAMA line comes in. It's maybe about a foot off that sidewalk now.
Where's the property line? Is that the red?
The property line approximately.
It looks
So
like
here's in the survey, the property line. The red is kind of where I have drawn in.
property line's almost all except about a foot of the
So here's, approximately of the property line per the sidewalk.
So the majority of the sidewalk is in his property?
Correct.
Yeah.
I'll ask the applicant when I get to that point about any desires for outdoor patio dining, such that you'd see it Buzz's Roost or anything like that. Okay. All right. The applicant may now present evidence and legal arguments in support of the request.
And just prior to Mr. Barnes giving his presentation, just for clarification, the applicant is Hurricane Alleys LLC. The property owner is JLM Partnership LLC.
Mr. Mayor, council members, Ned Barnes, 814 Crown Beach Avenue North, here on behalf of the applicant. As indicated, this status has been since, Davis had since 2014. As the island has grown with residents, as we get more and more visitors every year, as you can imagine, the seating he does have up top is the first to go, particularly during firework night, things like that. So basically what he's proposing to do is to enhance the boardwalk area with this rooftop seating that will allow folks to enjoy our great weather, to particularly enjoy the fireworks on Thursday nights that we have here. So I think it'll be a real benefit to not only our residents, but also the many visitors we get here on the island. I don't need to repeat, be redundant with what Jeremy stated, as the planning staff made clear that it meets all the 7 conditions, specific conditions. It meets all the 4 general conditions as required. It was passed unanimous by planning and zoning. With respect to the 5-foot easement, I will address that we had a good bit of discussion that with planning and zoning, and the final consensus of planning and zoning was that there was just no need for that easement. I mean, obviously, it would be extremely detrimental to him to in any way cut off or block that access for patrons that are coming to his business, and he has no intent of doing so. But certainly, he'll be glad to address issues as to what he, any issue raised about outside city, things of that nature. But again, as I said, I don't see a need to repeat Jerry's presentation as it relates to the 7 specific and the 4 general conditions, because the town has come to the conclusion, the staff has, that it meets all those requirements. And I'll address any questions you may have, and I'll have the applicant come up, and we'll be glad to address any questions you may have.
Off we go. Applicant,
So,
please.
just a question. Are you saying that that the applicant does not want to grant the easement that was with the original CUP?
It would certainly be his preference. Obviously, he was not involved in 2012, with that,
Right.
As I recall. And again, historically, proof's in the pudding. I mean, the sidewalk has been open, it's remained open for all those years. He has
Right,
no
yeah.
intent to close it. If there's, certainly we look into having, obviously, could not have any issue with the town expanding the sidewalk should they wish to expand the sidewalk a little bit wider. But again, he has no plans whatsoever to block the access that has been there for more than 7 years now.
Okay.
If you have questions for me, we'll be out.
Sir.
David Cole, 205 Greenville Avenue, Carolina Beach.
Anything to say, sir? Any comments to follow up on, Mr. Barnes?
I think this all goes back to 2011, whenever the building was boarded up, when I took taking control of the building, worked out with the owners at the time and purchased the building. Whenever, a lot of stuff slips my mind because it was 7, 8 years ago, but it wasn't, it came up when I built the deck, or was wanting to build the deck, and that's when the town found out that they didn't own that property.
Yeah, that's an important point.
Yeah, and it
I
was a
remember
big
that.
surprise to the town. But
I bet so.
clearly, they don't own the property. Now, the mayor at the time brought up that, why don't they just take the property? Well, that didn't go over too good. So I can't remember much less after that, but 2012, whenever I wanted to switch to the CUP, it was just because of alcohol sales, but I'm still listed as a restaurant. It's not, has anything to do with anything. But I had the time, and I went through the CUP process just to have it in case I wanted to do something different. If I own the building, for any number of reasons. But there, or everywhere on this island, everywhere is, you're limited with so little space. I have no outside space, none, except for that. And I haven't done anything with it. Just for simple little cornhole games or something, I tried to do it on the grass and gave them citations for that. Everything that I've done down there has been pretty much harassed. And I've never done anything to stop anybody from using the area or anything. I did yell at the guys that was riding around their gators about a month ago because they were going too fast around there. And there's kids running all around, and don't want anybody to get run over. But it's, I guess just by me agreeing for the town that I never used it, I've lost revenue because I could have had tables out there. I mean, it's my property. It's not the town's property. It's my property.
Yeah.
I set the deck back 3 foot. Don't know why, but we just worked it out to where I would, just for if they needed a truck down there. So I never tried to stop anybody or anything to hold up a CUP or anything unless I sign something over. I don't get none of that.
Yeah, and I'll retract my hypothetical question because it's your property, as you point out, and if you decide sometime down the road for patio seating on the sidewalk itself, no different than Buzz's Roost or Smokehouse.
I mean, I try to keep it down under the deck just for the shade because there is no shade, but it's still property for somebody. It's mine, but I allow everybody else to use it. I maintain it
you look at the sand on to the left, that's after the hurricane, that I had to go out there and pressure wash it because the guys come through there with the blowers and they blow it under my doors and they blow it back into the building. I'd rather them not do it, let me do it, because I take it away from the building. But we maintain it, we do everything that needs to be done.
And David, I think everybody on council understands that it's your property, and I get, you know, there's some hokey lines down there, it's old maps and that kind of thing, and we appreciate the partnership that you guys have done with the town. I guess that we would just ask that, you know, that you would continue that and we have pedestrian access through there as much as possible.
I have no plans to do anything, but I mean,
I understand.
it's my property.
Yep.
And if you look around at other properties that's adjacent to them, to my property, it's the same thing, that the city thinks that it's theirs, but it's not. And that's for y'all to hire a surveyor to find out what's yours and what's not.
Yeah.
There's other
We
property
did, we
owners
found, we
down
hired a
there.
surveyor, found out it wasn't ours.
That's right.
God knows what else they'll find.
Exactly.
We found that out.
Okay.
Don't ask
So
questions
this
if
was
you
all
don't
done,
want.
See how that
years
line
and
goes all the way
years and
down
years
to
ago. But I'm gonna go back and say in 2012 or 2011, when I walked back here to the boardwalk is bad shape. Buildings that, the other picture that you had was actually a better picture of what that building was. There was 2 homeless people living in it. It was boarded up. It's oceanfront property. And it looked like,
Yeah.
Crap.
That.
all right,
Take a
yeah, to the
surprise.
left, but it didn't even look that good, okay? So I took my little bit of life savings there and I bought that building and I turned it into, you know, a little restaurant there. So I took a chance. Before the new boardwalk was built, you know, there wasn't, me and Loretta's, Silver Dollar, Sonny's, none of that other stuff was there. Now everybody's coming, selling the properties, revamping it, building up so they can see the ocean. That's why people come to the ocean. They want to see the ocean.
Yeah.
You stand anywhere out there, you don't even still know that you're at the ocean. You can't even hear the ocean.
True.
And believe it or not, you know, I'm down there every day and I see people, and I've seen there was 2 ladies there a couple of years ago walking up to me. She said, "Sir, where's the ocean?" And I'm like, "Just keep walking, you'll see the ocean."
Go east.
But I mean, that's what people want. They want to see the ocean.
Yeah.
And I'm wanting to go up, so, and that's what I'm wanting to do.
Understand.
Yeah.
Took
Any
a
other
long
questions
time
for the
to
applicant?
get to
No?
the point.
Steve, comment?
Nope.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other witnesses, Mr. Barnes? I think not, correct? Okay, with that, I make a motion to open the public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any member of the public wish to address council? Nothing seen, heard. Make a motion to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Council?
Well, I'd make a motion to approve it,
Yep.
meaning that it finds the 7 specific standards and the 4 general conditions. And I'm looking for the exact title of this particular action. I think David's done a tremendous job, or the applicant or the LLC has done a tremendous job in turning that building around and bringing something, and the rooftop is not an issue whatsoever. I understand staff's desire to have an easement, but I also thought Tom's question was as intriguing. Have we looked at moving the sidewalk towards the dune, and at such time that we
Seems
can't do that?
logical.
Generally, an easement comes with some kind of agreement and purchase, so thank you.
And maybe that's something
Yeah.
staff can research to
You can't
Tom's
just-
point.
Welcome.
I mean, to date, the property has allowed people to use that for as long as they want. So at this point, I would move for an approval of CUP 19-CO4 Hurricane Alley, and find it in compliance. It meets the 7 specific standards and the 4 general conditions.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, unanimous. Sir, thanks for investing in the town. That's an editorial note.
Thanks, David.
Ed, can we look at some opportunity to meander the sidewalk if
Yeah.
possible? And I understand the CAMA issue, but down the road, in fairness to a property owner, if they wanted to have outdoor seating and we're using their property, either pay them for it or move the sidewalk. Right? At this point, they've been
I
gracious
would
not
hope we
to.
can maneuver just a little bit, we give enough room.
I mean, we do, it's central business district, 0 lot line. I mean, it would be
Yeah.
hard for us to tell an applicant they couldn't use their property. On the other hand, it's a benefit to the community to have that connectivity, so let's either leave it alone or try and move it.
investigate. Oh, they got questions.
Yeah.
Joe.
Sure.
No, I'm just kidding. Don't sell past the close.
205 Greenfield Avenue.
Don't sell
I was
past
just
the
going to
close.
say what we had discussed in the Planning and Zoning Committee was that we all are working together well on this, right? You can use the land and we won't get in your way. But if ever we started blocking that area, then we could come back and have another conversation about it. And to
Which
me,
is why I
that-
think
that
to the
works.
point of the council is to research what it would take with the Coastal Resource Committee based on CAM and to see
'Cause
what's
we
in the
don't
art of possible.
necessarily want to use the space anyway, so everybody wins.
No, but if we can ease the problem by just going a little bit eastward,
Sure.
then let's do that.
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like the simplest solution. We need to at least investigate and see if it's possible.
But we do have budget priorities, so.
We understand.
Thank you very much, guys. Okay, moving on. Debbie, you get the next presentation.
This is a public hearing that's required for the local government commission's application for the loan for 3 CBA South and for the demolition and rebuilding of the bathroom facilities at Hamlet for restrooms and ocean rescue facilities. So we have to have a public hearing on that.
Mhm.
And then after that, if there's no objections, we have 3 resolutions that you would need to approve. One is the resolution that has 3 findings. We have a reimbursement resolution that allows us to be reimbursed any expenses that we may incur prior to closing of the loan. And then we also have the financing terms that we need this, that BB&T was the sole bidder on that. And we have the resolution and consideration.
Okay, the council knows what we're talking about specifically, the piece of property, and then, and what's the intended purpose? So we could just throw that, I don't think that that's clear based on your statement.
Ed, would you clarify?
Not looking for a breathless soliloquy, but just a quick executive summary. This property is here and we intend to do X with it.
3 Carolina Beach Avenue South, we intend to use that for temporary storage of our ocean rescue. We want to use it for parks and recreation activities such as Christmas by the Sea, different activities we have in the summertime that we can house, possibly some public bathroom facilities, storage of our some of our camera equipment or security equipment that we have down on the boardwalk, and then in the future, looking at it for some expansion of the activities in that building, or maybe some reconstruction of that area, and that might be some open space, and we'd redesign the stage down there. So,
In full transparency, a very brief recap was provided in the minutes, which we adopted, page 21, that can be seen and is discoverable. We'll hold off on council. I'll make a motion to open public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Would anyone from the public like to approach and discuss the subject property and its intended uses and the loan? Nothing seen, heard. Make a motion to close public hearing. All those in favor?
Aye.
Council.
Well, I guess it's up to me again. You guys.
I would-
I'll make a motion.
Make a motion.
You're on a roll.
Yeah, I think just for,
Unless you want them all tonight.
we needed to move into a facility for our ocean rescue just by means of transparency. That was in shape, that had needed access to the ocean. That's Hamlet Avenue, and I think that's, well, that was really the underlying condition.
It was saving the lease money.
And the lease was becoming somewhat onerous with a maintenance tail to that. So that's all I have. Steve?
I'd make a motion to approve the financing to purchase the property at 3 Carolina Beach Avenue South with an interest rate of 2.38%. Good job.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thanks, Debbie.
Mayor, we also need approval of the reimbursement resolution, as well as the BB&T resolution, as well as the resolution of necessary findings.
How many more resolutions is that?
3.
Go ahead, Steve.
Somebody else bail me out?
There's resolution number 19-2207, which is a
Okay.
resolution necessary of
All
finding.
right, I got it.
All right, and I'll do the one after.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 19-2208.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'd make a motion to pass resolution number 19-2207, resolution of necessary findings.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And there's one more, and that's 2010, Noel? Did we miss one? Yeah. 2007, 8, 9, okay. I make a motion to, I'm looking at it right here.
That was the
Yeah, you
finance.
did.
2210, okay.
We're good. That's all three of them.
Yep.
Is that 3, Noel?
Yeah.
Okay, good deal. Thank you. Thanks, Deb, for putting that together. All right, moving on to items of business. Kim, do you have results?
Yes, I do. This is for, Mayor Council, this is for the reestablishment of the Business and Economic Development Committee. In the past, in 2008, it was a 7-member committee, and I believe council agreed to do that again. However, I have received a note from one council member stating they would like to consider it a 9-member council.
I just
committee.
said there was, at the original ballot you gave us there was just a lot of qualified people.
Yes.
And I would leave it up to the council liaison if they want to expand that committee. It's, 7 or 9 is a functional number. A lot of good diversity of backgrounds in there, and it's just always hard to say no to people that want to volunteer, and especially on something like that. But the ballot was for 7, that's what I cast.
Yeah, I, as a liaison, I think that we found the committees are too big, that it's a little difficult to manage. But I would think that it might be a good idea to have an alternate that would sit in on these committees, because we have had some issue with the past with committee members not being present, and then no one really knew what was going on in the committee. So an alternate has been a good idea that we've had, like on the police advisory and other committees.
Okay.
So
Well,
I'm just
non-voting.
thinking that might solve both problems.
Leanne, a non-voting alternate or a vote?
They're usually a non-voting alternate,
Right.
and then at some point, if that person were to have to fill that position, they would become a voting alternate.
Right, I mean, you could have 2 non-voting members for the ones that don't get selected tonight, and certainly that committee could come together, and if they feel like the need to bring 2 more people on, they can do that.
Absolutely.
Operations has done that for a couple of years now,
Yep.
effectively.
Okay,
And if it's okay with council, I've been made aware that there was an applicant that was submitted through our website that I did not receive. So if we can go ahead and appoint the top 7 tonight, and then I'll keep the application period open until next council member, and then we can
Or
vote on it.
can we put those back on the ballot for the alternate, maybe the ones that were not selected?
Yes.
Right.
And that would accommodate
That
for the
sounds like
one
a
lost
compromise.
in the, okay.
Correct, yes. So the top
Good.
7 that we received are Ethan Crouch, Kristen Dunn, Paul Levy, Maureen Lewis, Greg Reynolds, Daniel Tengredi, Jason Wooten.
okay.
And we'll bring this back to the October meeting as well.
And can you send that out
Good.
I'll
Send
in
that
an
back.
email? And when will you decide, you want to let the committee decide when those meetings will be held?
Yes, it'd probably be best to let the committee get together and see what works for them.
Okay, and Leanne is our liaison, correct, right? Okay,
Correct.
that's what I'm hearing.
Okay.
Sounds
All
good.
right. All right, non-agenda items, council. Joe Dan, I'm looking right at you.
I have nothing.
No, just to reiterate how
Today.
well our staff did, we did get lucky with a lot of things. It hit during low tide, but all in all, we learned a lot from Florence, and I think they're to be commended, all of them, from the top to the bottom. They did a super job. We're very blessed to have such a great staff. Thank you.
Okay, Steve?
Ed, where are we at with the parking lot, the parking golf cart changes as far as coming up with some ideas or plans? What's the follow-up from our meeting?
So myself, Brian Stanberry, and Steven Searcher from Lanier have a meeting tomorrow to start implementing those plans. So we're going to we gave you a general idea of the parking lot, of what the spaces would look like. We're going to try to finalize those plans and come up with a timeline to get those implemented. So our hope is to have those drafted out tomorrow and
So
start
can-
moving forward.
Can we get back to the Lanier people? And just let them know to ease up on their nasty grams to people parking in the golf carts. I know they've issued some warnings, but you know, if we told people we're not going to do anything in those golf cart parking spots along the beach where people have historically done until we come up with a plan, then all we're doing is causing people's blood pressure to go up.
Well, I do have a meeting with them tomorrow, so I'll let them know tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay, and then I had a couple other quick ones. CAMA. We let the beach rake permit expire a few years ago, Ed, and now that things have calmed down, you got nothing else on your plate. What? Get our beach rake permit back, will you? I know we were only
That's a
using it
good
a few
idea,
times.
just
We were only using it a
yeah,
few
something
times,
to
but there is
That was
some
nice.
value in that. And at the same time, you're talking to CAMA, can you work with them and help Kevin on his, the mats that they're putting down? You know, there was a real opportunity to expand those, and we're kind of walking a delicate line there because they weren't overly excited about them, but we get tremendous support from off the island for our handicap accessibility, and Kevin's done a tremendous job. They have the ability to add more of those mats, and they'd like to do that, but, you know, if we could expand that program down at Hamlet and a few other of our handicap accesses, it would just further our position. And then I did want to just take a minute, we didn't get a chance to recognize Eric, he left earlier, but in the last 4 years, the Parks Department has totally turned around.
Absolutely.
I mean, the savings that they've inured over there and the benefit to the budget for him and the creativity coming out of there and the condition of the rec center, I think is, you know, tremendous. So,
It is tremendous.
good job. And then the
Yeah,
last
no.
one was, did you make any progress on planting trees on the other side of the bridge in the right-of-way with DOT? So that we could have a more landscape entrance to our community?
I don't have an update on that, but I'll get you one.
Well, Tom's got an extra couple of trees. He would like some
Yeah, we'll move
tree
them.
spade over there.
They're a
That's
little
all I have.
lopsided, but that'll be all right.
Or he would help you with trimming them.
Yep, we'll trim them.
We can use it for
Get some
something.
practice.
Trim them as we move them.
Say it, Steve.
That's all.
Yeah, and to Steve's point about the work that Eric's done, he's got, I assume he's got an update based on the last Parks and Rec on Joseph Ryder Lewis Park. Some progress on the contractor making the bridge. That's good. That'd be good to get out to the public because that's a tucked away place that a lot of people don't know of. Estimated time of arrival on those 10 check valves that are coming for the Canal Drive, the street ends on Canal Drive. I think Brian said the end of September, the end of this month.
I believe you're right. I actually had that in update, and I was like, well, I updated it last month, so I took it out. But it was either, it's into September, October, somewhere around that time frame.
Okay.
It would happen.
Well, if he's at the Canal Drive Flood Committee meeting on Thursday night, he can provide them an update.
He will be.
Because
Yes,
they
I
will be
talked to him
putting
today.
together something for a open house to the public after we go and see Senator Peterson and get some other legislative assistance on draft language.
Okay.
Couple of Corps of Engineer things. You and I aren't going to be around for the 12th September. David's going to go to the Freeman property, and Brian may or may not be. If he isn't, I just put out some other dates that we can do that. That involves the retention pond in a designated wetland area that Mr. Freeman would intend to dig out with private funding, his own
Right.
personal money, just to get that out there. Went to a Census Complete committee meeting up at the New Hanover County today. Mayor Saffo was there, Mayor Blair, other representatives from New Hanover County. We can expect to see some requests for assistance from public-private entities in the coming months with a 1 April deadline for a census count before it goes to the president for adoption. I think that's at the end of next year. And to the point of the sand, to the dunes, I'll follow up on this, Ed, but Dave, the Corps of Engineers PR rep, would like to have an event, a public relations event with the media, with Colonel Clark, the commander in Wilmington. Myself, if I can't make it, I suggest Steve and/or both of us probably, if the date works out, but that'll be a good thing. If it happens before I go up to Washington on unrelated business, when I intend to see the general officer equivalent, that's Stacy Brown up at headquarters, and the other gentleman, if I could remember. Anyway, when I go up there, that'd be good as here's what happened, this is what the dunes did. I intend to promote heavily, and we saw no overwash. I mean, we saw the value of the beach for nourishment clear as day.
I think that's extremely valuable, so I'm hoping to get involved with that as well. I talked to Jim Medlock again today with the Army Corps, and they do have a new public affairs. You met their new public affairs representative. I haven't met yet, but that's great. The colonel, if we can get the colonel down and have that event.
I'll give you his number, Ed. Dave Connolly is his name. Yeah. We had no less than 12 shout-outs and mentions of the beach renourishment that was recently done. Jim Cantori gave half. Other members of the media referenced it. It's a pretty good stage upon which to now, expand on with other people.
Great.
Okay. If there's nothing else, make a motion to go into closed session to discuss personnel, attorney-client, and real estate matter in accordance with North Carolina General Statute 143-318.11 alpha 3, 5, and 6. The property being discussed is 316 Cape Fear Boulevard. The matter being discussed is 19 CVS 2999, Steyer Construction versus the Town of Carolina Beach. All those in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, we'll recess for 5 minutes. Ed, Nolan, Kim.